My name is Dan, and I am joined here by Grant.
Hey.
So today we are going to be filming the first episode of this podcast, and I think before we even get into any kind of subject or anything like that, we should kind of talk about, the reason behind the podcast and maybe introduce ourselves so people aren't listening to two random dudes fucking talk that they don't know.
It'd be like that, though.
It do. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name's Grant. I'm just kind of like, I just want to vibe. And we both like talking, so I was like, yeah. And we were like, yeah, let's do this podcast. So, yeah.
Yeah, neither of us really shut the fuck up, do we?
Nah. Sometimes it's a pain.
My name is Dan. I enjoy talking quite a lot. I've been trying to do YouTube content forever. But I think the reason we decided to do this podcast wasn't necessarily because we wanted to generate an audience or anything like that, which of course we do. That's the point of everything, I guess. But I think our motivations behind it this time are a little different. I'm going to just go ahead and break the weird, awkward silence that, exists right now and address the gigantic pandemic in the room. I was going to say elephant in the room, but I decided to go with that instead. I think it's really we wanted to do this podcast as a way to kind of help people out going through this pandemic and just give something to people, to listen to in the background while they're, fucking cooking something or they don't know what they're doing, you're bored. I mean, just kind of adding to entertainment as a whole to give people another outlet to look into, because you binge your favorite show once, or you watch your favorite movie once and it's over. And honestly, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of people even trying to generate a conversation. And so we kind of had a really cool idea, because this isn't just going to be a podcast, and you'll find out later on in this podcast what I mean by that. But kind of we just, I don't know, Grant, you want to we kind of just did it as a humanitarian thing, right?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I understand I can get trapped in my head a lot, and just listening to music only does so much, so. And definitely, if I'm working on something, I like to throw on a podcast. When I'm at work, I like to just throw on a podcast. It keeps your mind away from the anxiety, I guess. Definitely, because yeah.
Well, mental health is just so, it's taking such a hard hit right now. For everybody, mental health it's just terrible. And I already have pre-existing problems, as does everybody. I don't think anybody has perfect mental health, but that's just a thing that I think. I think everybody gets nervous and scared and depressed and sad. And I know for some, it's, maybe they're depressed one day or they're sad one day, and then the next day they're okay. And for some, this is completely destroying them. And I just think it's a really good idea to start generating a conversation and hopefully build up a little bit of a community that interacts with each other, which is kind of why we wanted to do this. We had this idea for the on the podcast. We kind of give recommendations for movies, video games, TV shows, music, just anything to kind of keep people away from thinking about the news, Because I don't know about you, but if I read a headline, it's,
dude,
I want to yeah.
I had to turn off my news alerts. I was like, fuck this. I can do it. I had an anxiety attack at work, and I was like, fuck this. I'm done looking at it. I'll look here and there to stay informed, but for the most part, I just keep my mind away from it. And that's the one thing that sucks is.
And that's what's really scary too, is the news updates of you're getting numbers, and at the end of the day, people can look at it and say, oh, it's just numbers, whatever, but you're getting numbers of how many people have died every single day straight delivered to your phone. If that doesn't fuck your mental health up, of course it's gonna fuck your mental health a little bit. So I don't know, like, just out of humanitarian interest, I know, like, the last thing anybody really wants to listen to anybody talk about is this godforsaken virus. So I don't really want to stay on the topic, but I guess it's kind of, I wanted to get it out of the way, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's something. It's the current topic in the world right now, obviously, and you kind of definitely was starting it off now, and this being our first one, it's like we should probably talk about like why we want to do this and like why we think it's a good idea to.
Right.
It's not because hey, we can make money off it. It's like,
well, right. I mean, we don't even have plans to monetize this.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I don't.
I'm broke.
Yeah. Like, I think the only plans I have to do anything with is, like, I'm sure people here, like, if you're here from the Instagram ad, like, that's, like, the only thing we wanted to do, just to get it out there, just to, like, let people know, hey, we're doing this thing. Like, not for us to be like, oh, hey, we're doing this thing, why don't you come support us, subscribe, and, you know, allow us to, you know, make money.
It's definitely, like...
It's terrible.
I mean, shit, when I'm not doing anything, I usually, like, scroll through Instagram and then look at it, look through all that bullshit, get done with it, and I'm like, alright, let me find something else, and then just go right back to Instagram, like, for no fucking reason. It's like, you need something, so if it's...
Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you've been kind of sitting in your room and getting a little bit of cabin fever, I hope that we can somewhat alleviate that. I know that if you're in a city, I so happen to be in a gated community, so I still go on walks every so often because I believe that the sun is good for you. Just little tiny walks around my neighborhood, like just around the block, nothing, you know, I'm not walking down to the grocery store or anything. I do believe that we should be staying inside and social distancing, but if you ever want to go for a walk, whether it's at night or something like that, just get a little bit of outside. If you want, just go out and stand in your driveway for a second. Like, you know, like, not to sound all like hippie and shit, but like, that's like the best thing I can recommend. And then hopefully we're able to alleviate some of the boredom. I know that it's absolutely mind numbing and terrible. I think right before I had the idea for a podcast and got motivated to do it, I was in a really bad place. I think, Grant, you were too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think everybody's just...
Like, I mean, I have work, but then there's the, you know, like, damn, I don't know what's gonna fucking happen. Like, we sure we're all good? I mean, everyone's we're taking the right safety precautions for sure. Like, you know, we have the rules in place and everything.
Yeah, but then you got people like the Florida governor, like Ron DeSantis, I think, said something recently, and don't fucking kill me if this isn't true. I heard it in my house. Again, I'm not really reading the news. But I heard something about him wanting to send people back to school in April. Come on. Like, and that's what's going to fuck it up. And I don't want to linger on the coronavirus. I wanted to just give a little bit of a background on why we wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
It's dope. I say that a lot.
Yeah.
I say it's dope quite a lot. I don't know where I picked that up. I feel like maybe in Syracuse, I think my friend Martin or my friend Matt used to say dope all the time. And I just, like, this past month, everything's just dope. I think my dad made fun of me for it the other day.
I mean, isn't it April 2020? Like, isn't it 420
Oh, yeah.
for an entire month? So,
yeah.
It makes sense. Like,
I guess so, yeah.
I mean,
damn.
What was I going to say? Oh, no, I went through a phase of that where I was just saying dope nonstop.
Yeah, it's weird.
When I, like, finally noticed it, I was at a friend's house, and his Mormon neighbor called me, and he's like, why are you saying dope? Like, you say dope all the damn time. Like, I'm like, I'm like, I didn't even realize. He's like, I mean, It's not a big deal. It's just like, why? He's like, you don't seem like the guy to say dope. I'm like, well, but it's just a word.
Who gives a shit? Sometimes things are just dope. Like, I don't know. Like, okay, sometimes things are cool. Sometimes things are rad. Sometimes things are dope. And, you know, sometimes things are fucking stupid. Like, you know, sometimes things are poggers. No, but sometimes things are fucking stupid, like getting mad that somebody's saying dope. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
He wasn't really
whatever.
mad. He was more or less like, why? Like, just questioning. Which I was like,
Mind your
oh,
fucking
fuck.
business, bro.
I mean, I don't know. No.
Really crimping my vibe.
Yeah.
I'll never say that again, Jesus.
Yeah, no. That's
But
what
yeah.
you shouldn't say.
But people like, I'm burping because I've been drinking. But people that, it's very interesting the way people talk and like say shit like that all the time. Like just like little tiny words that don't, like, dope is clearly like, oh, it means weed. And like, I don't even smoke weed and I compare everything to dope. Like if something cool happens, like, oh, that's dope. At least that's where I believe it came from. I'm pretty sure
know.
Like,
it came from that, or like dopey, that's like,
oh yeah,
stupid. And that's what when it went to the weed, because if you get high, you're like, you start acting stupid and you're like, oh man, I'm dopey, dude.
Ah, that makes sense.
Or people say, man,
That's
you're
true.
acting really dopey. And so then it kind of like, okay, that's where the term was used for like weed. And then I think people were just like, dope.
Interesting.
So
yeah, no. But getting back to like the sitting inside fucking terrible thing that's going on with everybody. What's really cool is like, I don't think entertainment as a whole like has ever had a better, and I don't mean this to sound sleazy, but like entertainment, like no matter what entertainment, movies, TV shows, YouTubers, like just I don't think people who work in entertainment ever had like a better way to reach the masses and really make people feel better, which is
I'm
like,
glad I'm not the only one that thinks that. Like, I know this year is terrible. This year is fucking terrible. But we have a lot of good entertainment right now. That's one thing.
And like, I'm glad. Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'm really afraid if I'm like the only one. Like I was talking to my mom. I was like, yeah, like this year is great. And she's like, what did you say? I'm like, let me finish. Like, it's great for entertainment right now. Like, we just have a lot of good, like, shows out, movies, games. Like,
And like,
fuck.
yeah.
2 games are released on the same day. I haven't played either of them. But I
played Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is a fucking phenomenal, amazing game. I bought it with like the last paycheck I got before I was laid off. Like, I got it.
Epic.
And it's like, it's such a peaceful, and I understand why people like the game, because I was never an Animal Crossing guy. Like, I played a little bit of like Stardew Valley and games like that, but like, they're kind of like Minecraft-y type games, except I don't think Animal Crossing is, I don't want to piss anybody off who plays the game.
More or less like a game to vibe to. You could just like chill.
Yes.
Like
yes.
like that's how I view Minecraft. It's more like, if you want to break from like the shooting and shit and all that, then go play like Minecraft or Animal Crossing. It's a nice change of pace. Yeah. And that's the weird thing, is the other game that I was talking about was Doom. And I haven't played that one yet, but I heard just amazing things about it. Like,
well, our friend Garrett, he, oh my god, he loves
it so much.
Yeah, no, he is constantly, but I heard some people didn't like it because I forgot what the reason was, but I guess that's with anything. Yeah. But some people actually really didn't like it, and it's like,
no,
really
I know. I don't think they really have like a. I've heard bad things about the multiplayer, but that's it. Mm-hmm. But like, they have a lot of cool shit in there, is what I've heard. A lot of cool,
that's awesome. That's dope.
Like fan service is a big one on that. But
that's dope.
But that's like crazy. It's like, how long has it been since we've had a game that like on release has been ranked flawlessly? Like, and we got 2 of them back to back. That's like, what?
Yeah, that rarely does happen.
It's anymore, especially.
I was surprised, just on the topic of games, how good No Man's Sky has gotten since. Yeah. Because I remember when No Man's Sky came out, people were chucking shit at it. Yeah. people were shitting diarrhea into their hands and chucking it at No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
Like, it was bad. People were giving that game a lot of shit. And then, like, recently, just because they've been working on a lot of updates, which Internet Historian, like, I'll send it to you later if you've never seen this video. He did an amazing long documentary on why No Man's Sky got the reception it did. And it wasn't the creators' fault. It was the people that kind of pushed it. Like,
Yeah.
the top company kind of pushed it out, you know, and like, it was really drawn out. Like, he had never had press experience before in his life, so of course he was gonna hype everybody up. Like, he had no idea. That'd be like if you and I, you know, got on the Today Show and people were asking us about a podcast that didn't even exist yet. We were just thinking about making it. Of course we're gonna hype it up a little bit.
Yeah,
you know,
it's yeah, like. And, like, that's one thing I'm glad game companies right now are, like, looking at it and they're like, okay, we need to take our time. Like,
yeah, I think Cyberpunk got pushed back, which is really nice.
That, like, and that's one thing, is a lot of games have been pushed back, and I think that's a good thing. Especially when you look at, like, the success, like, Doom has had. It was pushed back.
Right. Well, I think, like, game developers just need to realize, like, spend more time making your game. Like, because we fell into a really weird, like, and maybe it's part of getting older, because I remember my uncle Adam telling me, like, when you get older, like, video games are going to lose their appeal. And, like, I remember being, like, a teenager, like, 13, 14, like, you're fucking crazy. Like, that'll never happen. I'll never be tired of video games. And I'm not necessarily tired of them. We play them quite often. It's just video games all became like a blur. Like, it just, and I don't know if that's the industry or if that's me growing up. Like, it's really hard to.
I think it's a mixture.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's hard to, like,
I didn't really
hone that in.
Grow up on games. Like, I really got big into them, like, in middle school and my freshman year, and, like, I stayed pretty big into them until, like, senior year. And after I graduated, I didn't play as much. There wasn't as much, you know, fun. But that's also, like, there weren't as many people on. And
right.
That's another thing. It's like, and now it's like I can't play a game by myself. Like, I have to, like, play with friends.
Have a friend.
Bored, you know?
No, I get that. I totally get that. And I think that's definitely, like, why. And so, like, it could be where you came from, because you gotta play with people, but it could also completely be the industry, because if you look at the industry, like, Jesus Christ, if I could speak, single player games are out.
Yeah.
Like, they're out. Nobody plays them anymore. It's all, like, very tailored to multiplayer gameplay.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the time I prefer multiplayer over, like, single player.
Oh, no,
like, I like the single player.
Absolutely.
Single players have, like, godlike stories, where, like, more multiplayer games have, like, they have light stories, because they know people aren't gonna really play the campaign all that much.
Well, that's like Call of Duty. Yeah. Like, they, at one point, like, I feel like after Modern Warfare 3, or Black Ops 2, rather, they just kind of were like, all right, just who gives a shit, you know?
I think they were like, let's just take all these, like, ideas that we couldn't fit into, like, our other games. Like, and I'm not shitting on the developers or anything. I'm just saying they just kind of, like, took those side ideas and said, okay, we're making separate. Because, like, with the Modern Warfare series and Black Ops series, they were all pretty, you know, intertwined. And but then, like, Black Ops 3, there wasn't any mention of the previous Black Ops games. But definitely, I think they were just kind of like, okay, we have all these different ideas. Let's just kind of throw them in random games, buy ourselves some time, and then make one really good one later.
Yeah.
Because, like, they still had good multiplayer, but it was just kind of like playing the same damn game, you know? And that's what really pushed me away from COD, is, like, it's just reskinned every time. So, I mean, I don't mean to sound like a dick or someone who has no joy from it, but I'm just like, I just recently haven't had that drive to play COD, but then we recently have been playing Warzone, and that one's actually really fucking fun.
I actually really like Warzone, and that's coming from, like, I never really enjoyed COD after Black Ops 2. It was a mixture of two things. One, I had gotten really into Minecraft, and two, like I don't know, like COD just lost its appeal after a while. Like it's the same fucking game every year. At least that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
And Warzone kind of came out, and I know they're copying the industry with the Battle Royale and everything. And I'm not even just saying Warzone. Like, I think Modern Warfare as a game is a great game. Like, I really enjoy the game. And I paid for it and played it on my PS4. But on my Xbox, just because I'm playing with you guys, like, I just got Warzone. And I like that I have that option. Like, I don't have to pay for the full fucking game to access that one portion of the game that I want to play with you guys. And that's really cool. I really, really enjoy that.
Yeah. Which I'm glad, companies finally said, fuck it, we're doing crossplay. Like, thank fucking God.
Yes.
Because honestly, like...
Well, just because it wouldn't make sense not to. Because can we be honest for a second, like, between you and me? Like, PS4 and Xbox, like, they're the same fucking thing. They just look different. Like, they have a different UI. The graphics or processing speed, they might be a little different, but like it's the same thing. At this point, it's what color you prefer and what controller configuration you prefer, because I prefer the Xbox controller, but like that's it.
Yeah, like it doesn't matter as long as you're having fun. I'm glad people are finally like, yo, that's what fucking matters. I mean, I get the memes about the console wars and shit. That shit's funny. But on a real, like, if you start arguing about, like, how PS4 is better than Xbox or how Xbox is better than PS4, it's like, there's no fucking point. It's like arguing Apple and Android. Like, people have their own fucking opinions about it, Right. It's just like, let them vibe. And I think this crossplay thing is a good way to just kind of break down that wall. Like, put the final, like, nail in the coffin when it comes to console wars. I know people are trying to hype up the new next-gen consoles, the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, but it basically shows, both those consoles are going to be on the level of more of a gaming PC.
To an extent,
yes.
Yeah, like it'll be like what a gaming PC was a couple years ago, just because how fast PCs move. Yeah. Like,
more or less,
PCs are light speed.
Yeah, I'm saying it's going to be closer to that level, so it's like, it doesn't really matter. Like, just choose...
Yeah, be careful. You don't want them fucking r/PC Master Race, r/Chonker PC Master Race people being like, fucking excuse me, how dare you compare a console to people used to give me shit all the time. I used to say console.
Oh, the council will decide your fate, dude.
Yeah. But no, people get really shitty about that. So be careful. I'm just trying to look out for you.
No, I know. Both my roommates in college were like PC guys. But they still, like, I was sitting there in the corner with my Xbox and PlayStation, like, I'm just kind of chilling. Like, and then one day, my roommate, like, he was usually just on his PC, and then one day, he walks over with his dab pen, and he's like, play God of War. I'm like, okay. And so I play that shit, and he's watching the whole time. He's like, I really like this game. I'm like, yeah. And then I, like, said something like, yo, I don't know about you, but his nipple is looking hella realistic. And he just started dying. He was like, oh my
yeah.
God. Oh my God. Yeah. Which,
dude, we need that on the PC. We need those next-gen fucking nipple graphics.
I know,
how else am I going to play the anime waifu titty simulator?
Don't be calling me out, Dan. So speaking of anime titties, I accidentally got
No, I love how you started that. Like, I love how you started that. No, actually, speaking of anime titties, I accidentally like come on, Grant.
Okay, so
accidentally what?
Aiden and I were talking about a certain anime like that we watched like years ago because a friend of ours was obsessed with it. Well, so a couple months ago, before this whole lockdown, my buddies and I, well, they're like my brother's friends, but they're into anime and I'm into anime, and they're like, dude, we should totally hang out and go to like all these different anime stores here and just go on a weeb trip. I'm like, okay. So like first we were like, let's go to this place called Anime House, and we get there and it's fucking closed. And so someone threw on the Tokyo Ghoul. You know which song I'm talking about?
Yeah. The Tokyo Ghoul intro.
Yes. And
oh my god,
dude, it was fucking funny. Then we go to the mall and go to some stores there, and then we go across the street to Barnes and Noble, and because they have like manga and shit. And I'm looking at them, and I look down. I'm like, oh fuck no. And I was like, don't fucking touch that. And Emilio picks it up, and he starts like looking at it. He's like, what the fuck is it? He's like, how do you know about this, Grant? I'm like, fuck. I just cornered myself, and I had to explain. And he's like, this shit's basically hentai, bro. I'm like, yes, but it's hentai with a story.
You had to be like,
and there's no story. Like, it's just, there's like no,
I don't doubt that there's good hentai out there with good stories.
There's no, but like, it's just very like lewd and inappropriate. Like you can see titties and shit, but like anime titty. But
I feel like titties are the most unflattering thing you can call.
I know.
Like there's a scale, and like on the far end of like shit you really shouldn't say. It's to refer to, like, could you imagine if a doctor like walked in and he was gonna do like a mammogram or something, and he was like, all right, pull out your titties, like
that's just, and it's like such a douchey thing to say too.
And
I'm only saying it
show
for
me your
meme,
tits,
dude.
Oh no, I know anime titties.
But anyway,
like,
he
so
talks
funny
to me and shit. I was like, I watched it. So friend told me to watch the first episode. I finished it. Then he's like, dude, watch the entire season and tell me what you think. And like, I watched it. I was like, it's weird, but it's pretty fucking funny. Like, there were a lot of funny things in it. And anyway, so we're talking about it there.
Is it Boku no
Pico?
No.
No. Dan.
Oh my god. Hey, please, if you don't know what that is,
do not.
And I know by saying,
do not. Dan, you should probably cut that.
No, I'm not gonna cut it. I'm gonna explain what it is, pretty much.
No.
No, I'm not gonna explain it. All right, listen. Don't watch Boku no Pico. Don't look it up. And you've been warned. You can't blame me if you look it up. You're responsible for your own fucking decisions. Thank you.
If your fucking FBI agent's looking at it and it's like, and he texts you like, "Yo, what the fuck, dog?" That's on you. That's on you, not on us. Like,
yeah.
Viewer discretion advised. Like, do not look up Boku no Pico at home. But anyway, so they're all like, and I explain.
You should look it up on a school computer.
Yes, if they give you the Chromebooks, yeah, do that. Just don't even delete it. Just leave it. So when like the teachers go to look at it, and be like, let's make sure we didn't do anything inappropriate. They could just be scarred for life. I've got a terrible story about that, but let me finish.
Have you?
Anyway,
yes, of course.
Anyway, I explained it to him, and they're like, "Bro," he was like, "I kind of want to buy it as a joke." I'm like, we're not buying that in public. Like, you can order on Amazon or something. I am not walking up to the register and purchasing this. Like, I'm not doing it. And so he's like, okay. And we like got back and we were making jokes about it. Well, they've been like getting their other friends into watching anime. And one of them, who like has hentai stickers on his water bottle, but he doesn't watch anime at all. He just decides to watch this one. And they're like, bro, we even got him started on it. And I was like, what have I fucking done? Like, all of them were talking about it and shit. And they're like, yo, low-key. I'm like, no, low-key. It's a weird anime. Like, just, just why? Why did I was like, bro, I hate you guys. Like, fuck that Barnes and Noble aisle. Like, I'm never going back there. Like, to that aisle. Like, but yeah.
Wow.
It was fucking.
That's an accidental, interesting way to out yourself to your friends.
Yeah, and then they were talking about that new anime, Beastars. I was like,
I heard some stuff about that. I mean,
it's really weird. Like,
is it worth watching?
If you can, basically what I told them, and I was arguing this like the other day. It's like, okay, if you can look past the fact that they're all animals. And one of the guys in the chat was like, if you can look past the fact that they're all animals, they're like, what the fuck, bro? I'm like, okay, look, who got you started on that weird ass anime? Like, who the fuck got everyone started? Like, I need some respect right now because I got you guys started on that shit. That shit. Don't even come at me about this one. I'm like, I just said it has a good story. Like, I didn't say, like, I'm gonna rank it like my top 10. I'm like, bro, like, if you want to take a break from, like, shonen, because that's, like, primarily what we all, like, kind of watch in that group. Like, if you want to take a break from, like, action and shit, like, I'd say watch it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to clarify that for anybody who doesn't understand.
Yeah, sorry. It's not my fault.
What is shonen?
Otaku. I'm so sorry.
Otaku culture. Otaku culture is masturbating and coming into the same napkin 3 times in a row throughout the day. I'm not gonna touch that one.
I'm not gonna comment on that.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that there.
Anyway,
and,
but it is a really good story. There's a lot of really sus, really sus scenes. Like, really just, you could go without watching, but I mean, I guess they're kind of there for character development and all that. But that's one thing that was really impressive with that show. Or that anime.
Do you want to do, like, one of our first things? If you had to recommend anybody listening to this right now in anime, what would it be?
That's tough. Honestly,
like,
the first
this is
one...
for anybody who hasn't watched anime.
Okay.
Or, like, yeah.
If it's, like, your first anime, I'd say you want something newer, Mob Psycho 100. That one...
I've never even heard of
Oh
that.
my god, you haven't? I swear, if I like send you a scene from...
I'm not an anime guy.
I know, but it's kind of... Yeah. It's a really good one. Really, really good story. It's one of those that's more or less on the comedic side, kind of like One Punch Man. I think it's by the same... I think it's straight up created by the same people. But it... in the sense, it has a similar art style and kind of similar, like, it's goofy, yet really badass. But yeah, I would 100% recommend that one first.
That's
awesome. Like a good kind of starter one.
You got me into Evangelion.
Yeah, and that one.
That fucking show is.
If you want to watch
bonkers.
Evangelion, like, watch some, get some others under your belt.
Yeah,
it's a really good one. Like, it's the movie that fucks it up, that fucks you over. It's the movie. Well, I mean, all of it kind of, like, gets in your head and shit.
Dude,
but
I heard the ending.
The movie that just, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
This, you, like, can't sleep for, like, 3 days, and you're like, and then there's certain things, like, you'll hear and you'll just have a flashback, like, I can't.
Well, that's funny. That's like, speaking on that subject with movies and everything like that, like, one of the movies that is it like a movie that catches you off guard, like, with its stuff? Yes,
so more or less, like, the series itself, Neon Genesis Evangelion, it's got a lot of heavy story aspects, especially, like, more towards the end of it.
Does the movie, like, completely subvert it and, like, throw it out the window?
More or less the kind-hearted shit, yes. And it's just all kind of like, what the fuck? At the end, you're sitting there like, what the fuck did I just watch? It's like, it's not weird. It's more or less, it's like, that was like creepy, dude.
Wow.
Like when you learn the truth about it all, like through the story and shit. But honestly,
I love
honestly,
creepy
that is
shit,
one of
bro.
the best animes ever created, in my opinion.
Creepy shit is. So I'm gonna just. I have another YouTube channel,
Oh
Necro,
wow, self-promoter.
and suck my dick. I like look into creepy shit all the time. Like creepy shit is one of my biggest passions. Period. And I think like I don't watch a lot of horror movies, but I do watch a couple TV shows. There was an anime that I watched for a really long time that was it was a horror anime.
Huh.
I think it's the Junji Ito collection. Have you ever heard of that?
I've heard the name, but I don't know exactly.
It's like a collection. Each episode is a short animated anime horror story, and it's some of the concepts are just fucking out there, and some of them are really dumb. Some of them you're like, oh, whatever. It's like watching the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay,
so it's like
I guess I could see how that's creepy.
An animated Twilight Zone.
Yeah, and then, but some of them, bro, like, there's this one where this guy, like, just because, I mean, spoiler alert for anybody who wants to watch Junji Ito, I guess, but whatever. There was this one episode, I forget what it's called. I forgot a lot of details because it's been like a year since I watched it. But from what I remember, there was this one episode that really, like, impacted me. It was about this guy who, when he would go to sleep and dream, he would basically dream like a lifetime every time he went to sleep. And every time he went to sleep, it would be longer. So, like, the first time he did it, he spent, like, a whole hour in a dream and woke up. And he was like, dude, that wasn't right. Like, that felt really off. And then it's just increased. And, like, I think at one point, if I remember correctly, like, he went to sleep and woke up and it had been, like, 100 years in his mind. Like, he lived through 100 years. And then one night he went to bed again. And he just kind of like, I guess he would have died because he went way longer than anybody else like prepared for or whatever. And the doctor, like, I forgot like a lot of plot points and I sound like a bumbling fucking idiot trying to explain it. But like it connected with me because one of the most horrifying things, like in my opinion, when I like writing a lot of horror too. And I found out like I dabble in this concept. Is using your own mind against you. Like, your own mind becoming your own worst enemy. And I'm not talking about, like, your own worst fear. I'm talking about your mind. Like, you go to sleep and, you simulate 100 years in your head. Like, that's terrifying to me. Like, that makes me not want to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Damn, I've never actually heard of that one, but I'll definitely have to watch. I mean, I'll watch it, like,
if you want a really good show suggestion,
like,
just in general,
yeah.
If you want a good show suggestion in general, I mean, it's not an anime. But fine. Anybody out there who's looking for a new show who wants to listen to my, I guess, recommendation, and you guys don't know what you're watching.
I swear if you say
no, not type. Fuck. I haven't watched it. Everybody's talking about how good it is. I'm probably gonna watch it soon and talk about it on the podcast. But here's the show of the week, everyone. So this is the concept I wanted to kind of talk about earlier in the podcast. But like we want to do like blank of the week. So like we want to give you a show to watch, and like next week maybe you comment like, did you enjoy the show? Maybe have a conversation about the show. I really want to do like albums of the week, like with music and shit like that. But show of the week, just because I just figured out what it is Twin Peaks. I watched it back in January and February, and I was never like a David Lynch fan before then. I heard about Eraserhead and shit like that, but Twin Peaks is just, I don't know how to explain it. If you're a fan of the X-Files, you'll like it. Because it kind of really inspired the X-Files in a lot of ways. It also inspired like some of the dream sequences from shows like The Sopranos and stuff like that. Like, it is an amazing show. It is phenomenal. The character development is phenomenal in my opinion. The story is a little out there, but that's because it's David Lynch. Like, he's a little out there, but it's a really good fucking show. Like, that's the show of the week, Twin Peaks, period. Like, from me. If you want to recommend one.
I don't really have one. I've been, I mean, like just really on a anime kick recently.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, yeah, I don't really have a show of the week. I'll think of one for next week for sure.
Absolutely. Well, then let's move into like an album of the week.
Okay.
What album, Grant, do you want any viewer who has made it this far listening to us ramble? What album do you want them to listen to and then, discuss next week or this week in the comments?
Or like a suggestion. I'd say so. It's a little more recent. It was released in September. I'm pretty sure.
Well, wait. Before we get into that,
August.
do you want to describe our backgrounds, like our musical backgrounds?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So, I'm more of a rock oriented dude. Like, I grew up on rock. I really like punk actually, and despite the fact that people will bitch and say they're not punk, which I can see, Green Day is really what introduced me into like other punk rock music. If it wasn't for Dookie or any of their earlier albums, I really don't think I would have gotten into bands like the Dead Kennedys or, No Effects, like bands like that, the Misfits. I love the Misfits. But that's kind of my background. Like, I'm a more rock-oriented person, so if you like rock music, you can listen to my suggestions. Now, Grant, he is definitely a more rap-oriented person. Actually, as a matter of fact, I'm going to let you speak for yourself instead of speaking for you.
Yeah, more like a rap, but like I like a lot more of the alternative rap. Like, I like a lot of the mainstream, but it's definitely more like Tyler the Creator, and like shit like that, kind of along the lines like Mac Miller, Tyler the Creator. You've got, Logic. I would throw them in there, kind of like underground slash alternative rap, but kind of like that. I do like some mainstream stuff. I'm not like sitting here listening to Drake all the damn time. Like, I don't diss on his music or anything, but like I'll listen to some Lil Uzi Vert, Playboi Carti, or Travis Scott sometimes. But yeah. But yeah, like definitely more rap. I'd say, yeah, is what.
And what's really cool about us, I think, in general, is like, I got you into punk pretty good. Like, you got into punk for a really long time. Like, Grant shares a lot of the same favorite punk bands that I do. But I also, like, he respects that genre. I respect that his genre as well. I like Tyler the Creator. I do like a lot of the artists that you listed off. I don't listen to them very often, but I do like them.
Yeah.
So this is like what we want to do every week is like give any listeners like an album to listen to from each of our respective genres. That way, like, if you like more rap oriented stuff, totally listen to what Grant, if you haven't heard the album before, listen to what Grant suggests. If it's a little, underneath the, like, something you've never heard of before or something like that. But if you want to go against the grain and, listen to something that's usually outside of your comfort zone, then you could totally listen to the album of the week that I present. And what's really cool about the whole thing is, like, during the week, we're also going to be listening to the albums that we suggest. Like, I'll suggest one, he'll suggest one. And next week, like, we'll start off the podcast by discussing the album of the week, like the albums of the week. And I just think that's like a really cool thing, and it can really help to generate a conversation and think about something other than the fact that you're sitting inside all the time,
Yeah, that we're locked up.
But okay, that was the background. So go ahead.
So, I guess the one I'm going to suggest, it was released in September of 2019, and heavy instrumentals. Like, if you're someone who is a little more rap oriented, but you really appreciate when people mix genres, like they take instrumentals from more like alternative rock or I guess older, like, I guess a little bit of the blues mixed in, I would highly suggest listening to The Sailor by Rich Brian. It's a really good in between from like alternative and mainstream rap. I kind of like butchered my kind of like, yo, you should listen to this. I think I would have been better off just saying, yo, you should listen to this.
So that's your album of the week?
Yeah, Sailor by Rich Brian. That one's so good.
Dope. So I'll go ahead and recommend mine. And mine's going to be a little different from, I guess, what people would expect, because, like, I could totally recommend, I don't know, any, like, classic kind of rocky, punky type thing. And I know I kind of just hyped myself up as somebody who listens to that music, and I do, but I respect all forms of rock and roll, for sure. And that doesn't fall short of emo. I do like some emo. I like My Chemical Romance a lot, which I'm not going to be suggesting a My Chemical Romance album, maybe soon. But this is somebody that kind of inspired them and kind of inspired the whole emo movement, I think. There's this band called Sunny Day Real Estate, and the album I want to recommend, it has In Circles on it, the song In Circles. I can't remember the fucking name of the album right now. But it looks like this. That's the album art, and the name of the album is on screen right now. But that is the album I want to recommend. It's one of the best albums I've ever listened to. It's a super great album. It kind of inspires the emo movement quite a lot. And it has, I think, 7 by Sunny Day Real Estate, In Circles by Sunny Day Real Estate, Shadows, definitely. Like, those are songs that I can they're amazing songs. Like, Sunny Day Real Estate is possibly one of my favorite bands of all time. They're just really good. I really appreciate, like, the intensity of their music and the intensity of the voice in their music. And yeah, those are the albums of the week. They're both probably on screen right about now, I would assume. And cool, go give them a listen. If you don't want to give them a listen, that's cool too, I guess. But we're going to be discussing that next podcast. And yeah, that's just, I really like that. I really want to, like, generate, like, a conversation, you know?
Yeah.
Like, just something to talk about, something different, you know, so we're all on the same page. It's really actually hilarious that I couldn't remember the title of the album that I want to recommend, but I'm sure I found it in post-production and am probably slapping myself because it's a really easy name to remember or something. I know the cover of the album has, like, a burning toaster or a toaster that's on fire or something like that.
I mean,
so
at least, you know, you didn't butcher the explanation of it, and you gave a way better explanation of your album than I did. I should have given more props to the artist. Like,
no. Well, here's the thing. This is how I, like, view music and albums and things like that. And this is why, like, I don't understand when people get upset with an artist that will make an album that sounds completely different than the last album they made. Is, like, albums are vessels of how an artist feels in the time. And, like, you can give props to the artist or whatever, but the artist is kind of called to what the album is. Like, the artist definitely plays a hand in crafting the album and everything, but at the end of the day, you know, complimenting the album, yes, you should compliment the artist, but complimenting the album is, I think, definitely more, I want to say paramount, but I don't know if that's the right word. Like, more important, because albums have their own sound. Like, you, just speaking from a band that I've listened to since I was 13 years old, like, I know people love early Green Day. Like, they love Dookie and Insomniac and things like that, and each album kind of has its own sound. And a lot of people felt weird when American Idiot came out because it wasn't the normal pop punky, you know, type of shit that they listened to. And at that point, they really felt like they sold out and everything like that. But what's really amazing about it is it's an album that's different from the rest, and it's meant to tell its own story. It's meant to have its own vibe. It comes from a place in the artist's heart that, you know, otherwise wouldn't have existed. Like, that point in time, that's why it happened. Like, I think the whole album was kind of a protest of the war in Iraq at the time, like 2005, and like without the war in Iraq, like who knows if the group would have been inspired to write that album, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think albums, like in general, when we're talking about music, like albums have their own personality.
Yes.
Like their own minds, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a lot of people give artists shit, like, you didn't make an album that was as good as your last one. Like, that's because
that's kind of
in the artist's mindset, like it's a different entity, it's a different child, you know?
Yeah.
It's a different thing.
I recently had, well, not recently, like a couple months ago, had a conversation with a friend. They're a big fan of an artist named NF, and you know, in September, this artist released another album, and I listened to it all the way through, like straight through, and I was like, it's kind of like his last one. I felt there were a couple where he experimented, and I mean, that's also another thing. It was like, I mean, don't shit on an artist for like having the same message, more or less. It's like a lot of the music it felt the same as the previous stuff, and I was like, I mean, I don't dislike the artist, and I'm pretty sure, you know, he's got his own plans with it and all, but I was like, I just wasn't a fan of the album that much, and I got torn a new one, and I was like, bro, I just explained why. Like, I was like,
yeah. Well, like, and it comes down to individual, like, music is subjective, so it's gonna come down to individual taste. But like, I look back at all the greatest bands in history, like, you think like Pink Floyd, the Beatles, like, and you look at like each album, and like, was the Beatles' first album anything like how Sgt. Pepper and the Lonely Hearts Club was? No.
Hell no.
No, not at all.
They got
like,
real goofy towards the end, bro.
Yeah, they did, and like, obviously that's due to like what was going on in their life, you know, drug experimentation or whatever. But you know, without LSD and all the drugs that they partook in, like, you wouldn't have those albums. Or like, even like Pink Floyd, like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall are like, they're completely different albums. Like, I'm sure, like, all right, yeah, some songs sound the same because it's Pink Floyd, like every fucking whatever, like,
yeah,
somebody's voice is gonna sound the same, but like the music itself is gonna sound different. And like, I can, like, if you look back and look at like the greatest bands in history or the greatest artists in history, like, it's because they're always innovating, they're always trying something new,
like,
you know.
And I don't mean to sound like a stan, but like, definitely I think the greatest artist of our time right now is Tyler the Creator, with how much he like innovates, like, more or less, I should say, like, rap/pop. He's kind of like, I think he's making a new genre in a sense, like, with what he's doing. So I'd say, but
I could see that.
It's like that. Every one of his albums are different. There's not really, you can see where he started experimenting with using like instrumentals, and it's kind of like it increases throughout the time, like throughout his timeline. And that's the thing I really appreciate about, like, when an artist does that, it's something I just appreciate so much. And I'm like, you know, and definitely going against the grain and doing something completely different is, like, I mean, I could see, you know, doing kind of like, you start your thing and the first couple of albums, they're pretty similar. But if you like start experimenting, that's awesome. That's awesome. And I 100% agree where albums have their own like life
identity. They have they have like a new identity or a new life, like
and it's almost it's a different side of the artist, a different creative
Absolutely.
journey.
100%. Yeah, each creative journey is different.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how are you supposed to say, like, inspired as an artist if you're doing the same shit every time you walk into the studio? Like, it's not, like, like, some of the shit even you and I have done, and I'm not trying to compare us to, like, the greatest fucking artists of our time, but, like, I think you and I are very creative people, and we've worked on projects together that haven't seen the light of day yet, you know? But we've worked on projects together for a good couple of years now, and, like, you know, when we're writing stuff, it's never like the other shit that we write, because, like, if that was your job every day, like, we used to fantasize, like, you know, oh my gosh, it would be amazing if I could just, like, do what I want to do for the rest of my life. And it's like, yeah, that would be amazing. But how much would it suck if your fans didn't embrace the fact that you wanted to try something different, but instead embrace the fact that, like, they like what your first thing was, and if you continue, you know, doing that first thing, like, you're going to get disillusioned, just like with everything else. You know, the thing about creative people is that creative people want, and I'm not calling myself a creative person, like, I think we're creative, but I'm not going to sit here and compare myself to, you know, the greatest artists, like, that we have. Like, just for a creative person, like, just trying new things, and even if it's not good, even though there's no such thing as, like, an objectively good piece of art or an objectively good piece of literature, but even if it's not, like, widely, like, a mainstream, like, approved, like, liked, like, at least they got to step out of their comfort zone and understood what it was like to make an album that they're not, or a piece of art, or write a book, or a story, like, something that they're not used to doing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's really interesting. And I don't know. I feel like that about creativity and art in general.
Yeah. That's definitely my kind of gripe about shit, is like, when an artist does something totally different, and people just instantly, like, just after a week after a day, just start shitting on it. Or, it's like, dude, you haven't taken the time to appreciate it. Like, that's one thing with music. Before I form an opinion, I listen very close. Like, I listen multiple times before actually forming an opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
And the thing is, I like to listen through it, like, all the way through, like, not on shuffle, like, just how it should be played, me too, all the way through, like, the first couple of times. Then I'll make an opinion. And I like to, when something catches my, when an album immediately just, like, I'm like, yo, like, I'll listen. It's a little rare, but there's a couple times where an album just really just blows me away immediately.
Right.
And
same.
You know, and that's just like, whoa. And when it does that, that's when I'm like, this goes into, like, one of the best albums, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally understand that.
Which
I think, like, we can both agree, like, artistic integrity is just, first off, it's subjective, but I think personally, just because it's subjective, like, from both of our point of views, like, you have more integrity as an artist if you're willing to go against the grain and kind of step out of your comfort zone, even if it's bad. Like, you know, whatever. At least you tried, bro. Like, that's cool. And if you're a true fan of something, you don't got to stick by the album that's bad, but, you know, stick by the creator a little bit. Be able to kind of accept, like, yeah, you know, they're still my favorite, and even though they made something that I don't necessarily like, I can appreciate the fact that they went out of their way to try and make something in general. At least it's not the same fucking schlock, you know? But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just the opinion of one young adult male named Dan.
And I definitely, I agree with that, where it's like, if you, I mean, part of being an artist is definitely flexing your creative muscle and trying something new.
Right.
You know? Like,
and that's kind of like, and I don't want to like bring things full circle, but that's kind of like why we started the podcast a little bit. Like, this is something completely new to the both of us. Like, we both like writing and coming up with ideas and shit like that. But like, I don't think we expected to be doing this right now. I think we kind of just looked around.
It was like,
and saw
on other projects we're like, yeah, we'll possibly do a podcast like later on. It was never, like, we'll do a podcast to start it. I think
yes,
it's a decent way to start it,
because we do plan on doing other stuff on Idiot Soup. It's not just going to be a podcast, and we don't really know what that's going to look like now. Hopefully in the future, like, the plan is you and I like are able to get together and really just start cranking stuff out. But for right now, I think the podcast is good. I think it's something people need.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't like assuming shit of people, but like, I think it's something people need. Like,
well,
this is something people need to just distract them.
And it's like, it's kind of what Chris had said the other day, is it's optimism and, looking out, like doing good deeds to help out.
Right.
I think, like Chris said that, and then, but that's definitely one thing that,
right.
For example, when we were playing Halo the other night, they had those $10 packs, and I bought all of you guys one just because I'm like, yo, the funds go to this. What?
Grant, can I hate to interrupt the podcast and everything. I'm going to cut, but I need to piss. So like real bad. Like, I had a real big. I'll be right back.
Usually he doesn't take off his mic. Usually he just goes and pisses, and you just hear it. It's whack sometimes, but it is a character trait. I mean, I can appreciate that, but at the same time, I'd also appreciate if he doesn't piss with his mic on.
Sorry about that. But now I have relieved my bladder. I was drinking a seltzer water and another bottle of water, so it was quite interesting. That's also why I was burping earlier in the podcast. I don't know if my mic picked it up, but I was trying my best to not just like burp disgustingly. But yeah. Anyway, just to get back into what we were talking about, I believe we were talking about like artistic integrity and just like why we want to do the podcast and everything. And I kind of want to go ahead and put this out there. If there's anything you want to see us do, like, I know this is the first content we're putting out, and this is the first like introduction anybody would be seeing with us. And at the end of the day, this is not a self-promotion thing. This podcast is purely like we want to keep it within the confines of helping other people and having other people feel a lot better about their current situation. But if there's anything like later on after this stuff blows over and goes away, because it will. I know right now it doesn't seem like it will, but it will. No. If there's anything you want to see, let us know. Honestly, let us know.
Sorry, I was gonna say, yeah, they have like said that the curve is flattened quite a bit.
Yeah, which today was really good.
Well, we're recording this on the 15th, and so today, right now, is April 15th, and that was the...
It's my girlfriend and I's 11-month anniversary, so I just want to give a shout-out to her. I love her very much. Okay, continue.
Well, I mean...
I had to stun on you for not having a girlfriend.
Okay, buddy. Anyway, it's, like... I Can we cut that?
Yeah.
All right.
No, I kept it in.
Damn, okay. Anyway, it's, the peak day, like of the curve. And, a lot of doctors have said, and professionals have said, like, the curve looks to be flattening. But, I mean, that's just from what I've seen. But, yeah. So I think we'll get out of it soon, hopefully. And then we'll probably have to look out, because they said in
The
fall. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look out in fall, like, make sure it's not there, and then wait for us to find the right shit to combat this. Or combat it, I mean.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. But yeah, no, I think this was a pretty good first episode, honestly.
Yeah.
You know, we covered a wide range of topics, but I'm not going to sit here and suck my own dick. So let us know in the comments how we did. If it was good, if you listened up to this point, I really appreciate it, and I'm flattered. Grant, would you like to say anything?
I mean, I don't really know what to say, but thanks for listening. It's pretty cool that, like, if you are listening, if you just saw the ad and you're like, fuck this, like, I mean, at least you saw it, like, that's cool too, but, like, that's pretty epic, like, if you're listening to it, and you got this far for sure, like, thank you, I'll get you.
And do count on it being a weekly thing.
We'll, get back to you another time, sometime.
Yeah. Next week, same time, Friday at 11 a.m. This is gonna go up, and we actually are recording it on a Wednesday. That's our recording day. For now, but yeah. Before this whole thing ends, I just want to go ahead and say, hang in there. Things are gonna get better. I know. I mean, if your mental health is deteriorating or anything like that, hang in there. I know that might not sound like a great thing, because I know when I get a certain way, like somebody telling me, yo, just hang in there, it's all good, like sometimes that can be difficult, but there are people out there that care, and there are people out there that want to reach out and help, and I think that's kind of why we started the podcast at the time that we did, and I think that's also why we kind of started the whole channel as a whole, is like, we just want to help people. We want to make people laugh, or make people think, or just generate a little bit of a conversation. And, yeah, that's about it. Thank you for listening.
Keep your heads up, kings and queens. Your crowns are slipping. It'll get better. Sorry, I had to fucking add that in.
Fuck. Oh, no, that was good. That's cool. But thank you for listening. We will see you next week on the IdiotSoupCast.